Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. In the next 15 minutes, I have actually 3 topics I want to talk about. Number 1, why are semiconductors a crucial link between the real world and the digital world? Number 2, why we at Infineon are convinced that we make life easier, safer, and greener. And last but not least, how we cooperate with digital companies, startups, and why that makes us more creative and more agile, and that is very crucial to the digital transformation that's ahead of us. Let's start with the big picture. Our society faces major challenges triggered by global megatrends. In the year 2050, roughly 9 billion people will live on our planet, and all of them are striving for and actually deserve to live a decent life. In China, for instance, in about 5 years from now, there's going to be 550 million people that are considered to be middle class. That's more people than live in the European region today. And they all search for wealth and jobs. And on that search, they make their way to the cities. Not only in China, but everywhere in the developing countries, urbanization is really progressing rapidly. On top of it, roughly 1/6, so more than 1.5 billion people by the year 2050 will be at the age of over 65. All of this is going to have a major impact on our society because we are also facing very scarce resources. And we need to limit climate change at the same time. In order to cope with this, digitalization will be an important part of solving those challenges that are ahead of us. Why? Because digitalization drives efficiency in personal as well as in professional life. In every aspect of working life, digitalization is meant to drive efficiencies of value chains. However, billions of connected devices at the same time consume a lot of energy. A data point, 2014, Google has consumed 4.4 billion kilowatt hours of energy. That's enough to serve 1.4 million households. That was just Google. In this context, obviously, energy efficiency is key. We have to create more with less. And my message is, addressing these challenges provides a major business opportunity for you, for us as well. For certain, it's part of our business plan, underlying business model, and we believe that semiconductors are a key to drive digitalization. And why is that? In our view, digitalization means connecting the real world with the digital world. We have to bring actual physical devices together with the data as and algorithms on the analysis side at the same time. For that, sensors are the sensors of all the devices that are out there, providing the data that then can be led into the algorithms to analyze situations. So that's where the process starts. Microcontrollers are the brains that are not only aggregating this data, make it useful in the digital world, but at the same time, when there is a decision being made in the digital world, to transfer that into the real world, and for that you need muscles. And muscles are driven by power semiconductors. They make the world go round. They will spin the motor at the end of the day that's driving the electric car or driving a motor that is actually moving an arm of a robot. And finally, all of this can only be happening when there is a profound conviction of people that data security is there, that crucial infrastructure will be provided, and that for that we believe that hardware is critical to create an immune system into this data network. Now, let's talk about why I'm here. What does a conference provide that connects big companies like ours with startups and smaller companies out there? When you look at a company like ours, Infineon, with major customers, for instance, in the car industry, it's all about scale and cost efficiency. It is about a deep understanding of the application spaces we are in, and it's about deep understanding, full understanding of what our customers are trying to do with what where they are successful. And not only in Europe, but also all over the world. On the other side, startups have the ability and freedom to think out of the box and really to drive digital transformation. That is a key asset. You have to be able to think out of the box. You have to be able to go broad. You have to be able to address the multitude of applications that are able to be addressed by digitalization. And I believe in combining the two strengths of each side, there is a major benefit from which we both can benefit. Because you are not only creative. Startups are not only creative, they're also quick. They're energetic and they have a very pragmatic approach. And working with a company like ours, that enhances our agility. I look at that as an agile arm, but not under our wings, but just at the fingertips. And just recently, for instance, we worked with a startup in the construction industry space, actually scaffolding, Gerüstbau. You wouldn't necessarily think that that is an area where digitalization would come in first. But within only 6 weeks, they were able to develop a prototype that's actually a robot helping a human being to build such a scaffold. And what can we bring to you? We think that we know how to address markets globally on the one side. And secondly, we know how to industrialize and how to drive scale. And that can be major assets to a startup when it comes to the position of really growing the business. We do have a partner with startups and digital companies in the Silicon Valley. However, I have brought a few examples of how we collaborate with companies in Germany, actually to be more precise in Munich, and to be more precise in Schwabing, where we have really worked together with and brought products to life in a very short time frame. And we do see great potential in the collaboration, not only outside of Germany, but actually inside of Germany as well. And that brings me to my very first exciting field of digital transformation. That's the interaction between human and machine. Cars, homes, factories, end-user devices, all of them will become smart and connected. That's no news. You all know that. The question is, in 3 years, around 30 billion devices on this planet, how do we want to interact with them? And it's our theme to make life easier. And obviously, human-machine interaction has to be easy. We all know what the touch screen did to us when we think of usage of mobile internet. Some of you may remember the days where, okay, only the old-timers of ours remember, when we had actually a keypad telephone to type in an address. That was not very funny, and not very efficient either. And so the predominant way of interaction will be voice, eventually gesture control, with those billions of devices in the internet space. And they are much more powerful and efficient ways to interact with machines than a keypad can be, or even a touchscreen can be. So what is necessary for voice control? It needs to be understood and not just physically recorded. And for that we have invested actually in a British company. It's in Bristol, in a company named Exmos. And together with them, we are improving voice control of devices. And today, voice control often is unable to distinguish between two different people, or actual real people in a TV. And I guess most of you will remember the incident where thousands of Amazon Echoes ordered dollhouses because an anchorman said on TV, "Alexa, order me a dollhouse." And thousands of them actually started ordering them. And I'm not sure whether Amazon liked that. In the future, voice-controlled devices can identify and track people in the room using Infineon radar sensors. Why radar sensors, not camera? Because radar is less intruding. Radar is delivering a picture which can eventually identify a human, but not a person. And microphones are adjusted accordingly, and the so-called far-field voice processing capability of Exmos is used to better capture the speech. So voice control is an important factor to make HMI more seamless and therefore easier. That brings me to the next aspect. Robots will become part of our lives. I don't know, I own a vacuum cleaner and a lawnmower, and I know you may even own more things at home that one could call a robot. And in robotics, we are working with a Munich-based startup called Franka MEK. Franka developed a robot named Panda, which you can see. And what's it able to do? It's a so-called lightweight robot that was designed to interact with humans. It has extremely sensible sensors and totally safe to operate with, and you can even interrupt it. So what's also special about Panda is the way you program it, because you can literally show Panda what to do and it will be able to repeat it. You do not have to learn programming language, parameterization, or whatever you want on making the robot to work. And as such, it can not only work in manufacturing, but also in the service sector. For instance, it can support nursing staff, which is urgently needed in developed countries in Germany and other countries where population is aging. We support Franca because we believe that they have a great team, a great approach, and a valuable idea to HMI. And of course, we would also be happy if they sold billions of them and we could actually sell our semiconductors in those devices as well. So, what else is important about beyond human-machine interaction in the space of startups? Experts estimate that in the year 2030, around 5 billion people will live in cities. You have to put that in perspective to the 9 billion on our planet in 2050 that I said earlier. And here I want to show you an example how we collaborate with startups as well. This is a streetlight of the future that was developed with the support of Infineon in Schwabing as well. Our chips turn the streetlight on or into an all-around talent. They can make their life easier when you try to find a parking spot, and there's another interesting data point that 1/3 of inner city traffic is actually wasted on finding parking spots. So it's not only making life easier finding a parking spot, it's also making it a lot greener. And how can we make life safer with this device as well? Well, the device is able to recognize a person that is crossing the street and will actually flash when a child crosses the street and thus warn the driver to stop or prepare to stop. So it, last but not least, can serve as a charging station for electric vehicles. And so this idea was created and brought to life in a very fast and agile manner using our sensors, microcontrollers, as well as our power devices. So coming to an end, let me summarize. Number one, solving societal challenges creates huge opportunity. That's a message for you to carry. Digital transformation is a big lever, and semiconductors are a crucial link to actually realize that. Secondly, it's all about efficiency. Making more out of less, more and more applications and devices and data-operated systems with less time, effort, and energy. And if you improve the value chain, any value chain, there's going to be a market, a valuable market that's willing to pay for the solution that you can provide. So you have a chance to be successful. Third, startups work in a very fast and agile manner for short time to market. You have creativity and disrupting approaches, which are a major driver of this digital transformation. Established companies like ours can help you to globalize, industrialize, and scale, and provide access to big customers, so go deep where you can go broad. Let's combine our individual strengths and create the digital future together, because together we can make life easier, safer, and greener. So I'm happy to discuss with you. Let's get in touch. Here you find my credentials as a QR code. We thought that was clever. And otherwise, we'll meet you in the speaker's corner. Thank you very much.
Very good. Are you up for taking a couple of questions from the audience? Yes? Before we do so, what does really personally excite you about the future of Infineon?
I believe that we have early on worked on very important megatrends. When you think of autonomous driving, where we provide lots of products for, or electric vehicles, when you think of HMI that I was just talking about, the fact that we are really focusing on people and what they want from technology, and that we provide technology that enables that is really truly exciting working with.
A real problem solver.
Yeah, great space to be in. And the problem solved is money worth. And that's what is a good combination.
Yeah, good lesson for many startups. So, are there already some questions to Mr. Gassel of Infineon after the presentation? Come on, guys. He's the one, he's the member of the board here at Infineon after this presentation about semiconductors. I mean, the 550 million Chinese middle-class people, that's crazy. That's a huge market.
It is.
But not so easy to enter then, you must also add.
Yeah, well, for us it is, meanwhile. It's actually our biggest revenue country. We have 25% of our revenue in the country of China.
Amazing.
Which is, out of a 7 billion company, a significant number. So meanwhile, yes, of course, if you want to get started in a country like China, there's a lot to know and a lot to learn. How to start a company, set up a company, find a partner. So there's a lot of things that you have to understand. And yes, we have understood. We're a large entity, 37,000 people. So yes, we have learned our lesson there. But it's a crazy market. It's super fast developing. Whereas there's a lot of skepticism in Germany and Europe about new technology, there's a real excitement in China about new technology. They're very fast adopters of all kinds of new technologies. For instance, it's by far and large the biggest market for electric vehicles today. It's the biggest market of solar panels and solar technology today. Not only the biggest producer, but also the biggest installer. They install more solar power per year than Germany has over its lifetime. So these are big, big numbers, and there's ample of examples you can have about China and why it's exciting. But you have to get there, right? And that's something that's not so easy.
Because actually, how do you keep up with all those trends? How do you know what is hot and what is needed around the world?
That's exactly what we can't do as a big company, right? That's why we are talking to startups, because we're excited about you guys picking things up, and we are trying to select from it. The one thing that I believe helps us in navigating through the maze of what's happening is looking at these mega trends. What are fundamental drivers that have been there for a long time and will last? To give you an example, electrification of things. We've been betting on this for a long, long time, and you can practically see it today. Not vehicles are the, if you will, last thing that's being electrified, but when you look at anything that was hydraulic in industrial applications has become electrified. Commercial agricultural vehicles, all of them, hydraulics are gone. All of it is done electrically. Or digitalization, we've also been predicting on that very early on. You've seen it in cameras and music first, right? And it eventually comes to all kinds of life.
So actually today we're here on the DE Hub stage. So there are 12 sectors being selected, also attached to some places in Germany. Of course, because it's a federal country, it's wise to do it in all kinds of different places. But do you think that those initiatives to keep it regional, to keep also the focus on their sectors, is the way to go forward to connect the SMEs and the startups digitally?
One could think that physical location no longer matters when we have all this technology around us, right? You can do video, you can do whatever Skype, whatever technologies you're going to be using to communicate. Nevertheless, you bring people together in places like this because there is more than just technology behind communication. So yes, there is the benefit of creating, I believe, hubs for certain capabilities. Nevertheless, we collaborate not only with startups in Schwabing or Munich, we also collaborate with startups in other places. So I am not so worried about the fact that there's hubs being created. But there is a chance when there is somewhat of a critical mass of a certain competency to be built up in a certain region. I think that can be helpful.
Are you actually also active in the Berlin scene, in the Berlin digital scene with one of the companies?
Yes, but actually lesser, because at least in my view, and I may be wrong and learn more today, but in my view, a lot of the startup activity in Berlin is focused on fintech, but that may be completely wrong, and I have to probably broaden my horizon on that topic. So.
Well, I mean, of course, I mean, now you're here, then probably, this is a chance to meet all of them. So you are also very much invited, of course, to go to our Meet the Speakers place. And if you guys want to catch up with Helmut, then of course this is also possible in a one-on-one. Thank you so much for sharing your presentation. And
Thank you.
See you again.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank
Great.
You.
Thank you.